Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and I'm going to be taking you guys along my very long physical TBR list that I have right now. All the ones up here, and then I do have some down over here. On the bottom row there's actually just two levels on there. This top row are all the books from my mom, and then also all the ones back here are from my mom. Some of them are mine. I have already read a good chunk of these, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys all the books that I have on my physical TBR. Let me know down below if you guys have any of these books, or if you have read them, if you like them. These are a lot of books that I have found from TikTok, from YouTube. I'm trying to give myself a nice diverse selection for my TBR list because I don't want to just stick to very specific books. I want to kind of give my reading palette a good mixture of a lot of different things. I'm going to start off with all the books on this top row over here, and then I'm going to work my way on the bottom. From this first stack that I have right here, I like to have like a physical copy of the books. That way I can actually see what books I kind of want to read and whatnot. A lot of these are going to be just the first book of the series. That way I'm like, oh, that's right, I do have this book, and maybe a second or third one is with it. I like to physically see all of the books that I have. This is the first book that I have. It is The Butcher and Blackbird. I believe this is a series, so it's only going to come out with 2 books. I'm not really sure if I'm going to buy the second book, but I have the first one. Then I have The Body Keeps Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. I've seen a couple of people read this book and they said it's really interesting. I also love psychology and trying to get to know how we as humans work and the way that we experience things, the way we experience trauma, or the way that we kind of just experience everything is kind of really fascinating to me. Then I have the first one in the Shepherd King series. So this is One Dark Window. This is just the first one. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy the second physical copy of it once I get to this one. I like to just have the first one. That way I'm like, oh, that's right, this is on my radar. I have In 5 Years. I don't really know what this one's about. It looks really short. It probably is a romance book, so it'd be really nice as a little palette cleanser. A lot of these books, I don't really know what the majority of them are about, but I've heard really good things about them. I like to go into books with a very blind idea because books are very opinionated, meaning in terms of like, you might like a book, I might like the same book, or we may not like the same book. I have a lot of these just based off of recommendations that other people have been given. The first out of 3 of the Dreamland Billionaire series. I know that this one is kind of based off of Disney or something like that, so that seems really interested as a Disney adult myself. This one is called The Fine Print. I have the first one of the Rebel Blue Ranch series, so this one is done and dusted. I've never really read a cowboy romance, so I'm very excited to see what this is all about. I have My Own Words by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was the Supreme Court Justice, one of the females there. I'm really excited to see what she wrote in this book. My next little stack here, I have my first ever Ellen Hilderbrand book. I'm really excited to read this. I think it's coming months because it is summertime here. I've heard nothing but great things by this author. I picked this one in specific because I looked online to kind of see which one was her more popular book. This one came up in a few others. This one is The Perfect Couple. I have A House Across the Lake. I do really like mystery thrillers. I'm kind of really slowly starting to get into them, and I've read a couple which I really like. So anytime I go to Barnes & Noble, I always look at the mystery thriller section just to see what type of books there are. And I have Pretty Girls. Again, this is another mystery thriller, so I'm very excited to pick this up. I also really love to diversify my reading. So if I'm reading a romance, I will either do a fiction book, a memoir, or a fantasy book right after that. I don't really like to keep the same genre kind of going because I feel like I might get bored, and there's so many books out there. Then I have this one. I've never heard of this book. I did read the back of it. It says that it's kind of like Harry Potter, which I have watched the movies. I've never actually read the books. I'm very excited to read this. This is called The Musician. Sorry, I cannot pronounce this name. I have another memoir called Know My Name by Chanel Miller. If you guys know anything about the story, it is really sad and heartbreaking. I've heard that the memoir is such a good read. This book does fall under the weird fiction literature section, which is Rouge by Mona Wad. Very excited to read this. I will say these 5 books are probably my most prized possession and something that I'm very excited to read the physical copies of, which are all 5 of the Magnolia Park series. I've heard mixed reviews about the series because some people really like them, some people don't. I did buy these off of Amazon trying to get the really pretty covers because I don't really like the US covers of these books. I think these just look so much better. Aesthetically, they look really, really nice. So this one is just Magnolia Park's Daisy Hates, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. I have the 5th one that's written, that's out now, which is Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I've heard a lot of people have cried. This is such a thick book. It's not even funny how thick this is. I would say that this series I'm very excited to read about. I do want to do a reading vlog reading the entire series because I would be very interested to see if I really like this sort of series or I don't. The first book of the Twisted series, which is Twisted Love. I have Archer's Voice, which I've heard really, really good things about this as well. I've also heard that it kind of gets you out of a reading slump or that it's like really, really sad. These next 4 books I didn't actually buy. These are my niece's and I asked her if I could just borrow a couple of these books. I have Red, White, and Royal Blue. I have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. As you can see, it is very well loved. And I have Call Me By Your Name and I have Icebreaker. Then I'm going to show you guys all the books that I have down over here. I have A Merry Little Meet Cute. I was supposed to read this during Christmas time, but I never really got time to. I don't know why. I'm very excited to kind of read this in the Christmas time. I have the first 2 books of the Harry Potter series. Like I said before, I've never actually read this series. I've watched the movies over and over again and I really love the movies. I have the 3 of the Divergent series. So I have Divergent, Insurgent, and then Allegiant. I have Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I did go to her museum in Amsterdam a few years ago. It was very, very fascinating to kind of see the story of how she got to where she was. And I have All Good People here by Ashley Flowers. If any of you have read Crime Junkies, let me know down below. I listen to it occasionally. I don't really listen to it as often as I would like. I love it. Another thing, I'm not really a big hardcover girly. I love my soft covers because I love to fold the pages, fold down at the tabs. So you will not see a lot of hardcovers in my collection. I believe this is my 3rd or 4th book by Colleen Hoover, which is Ugly Love. I got this as a Christmas present. I still have not read it because as you can tell, I have quite a lot to read. And I got this one for my birthday or Christmas and it's The Casual Vacancy, which is by J.K. Rowling. The 2 books in the Ninth House series, both of these are the Barnes & Noble exclusive covers. If you guys follow Heather on YouTube or Instagram, she raves about these books, so I'm very excited to see what the dark academia books are all about. And I do have the first book in the Caviar series and then the first book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series as well. I do know that you have to read this series first before you get through this one. So I do think it's about 6 books in total when you combine both series. I have The Things We Do for Our Friends, which I'm assuming it's a mystery thriller. I'm not exactly sure. The cover looks beautiful. I have Midnight Library. I've heard nothing but great things about this book, of how the story is so nice and so well written. I have my first ever historical fiction book. This is by Kristen Hanna and it's The Nightingale. And I have one of these saddest books on my physical TBR. This one or another one that I have over here. I did pick up this one because I do eventually want to read it. It is quite a hefty, thick book. I'm not really sure how long it's going to take me to read it. I would love to do a reading vlog to this book. Look out for that. I do have this one, which is the first one of the series, and this one's called If He Had Been With Me. I've also heard that this series is also really, really sad. And I have Behind Closed Doors, which is a mystery thriller book. I do have the first 2 books of The Housemaid. I know the 3rd one had recently come out. I may actually buy the 3rd one just to kind of have like all 3 of them. I have Emily Welch's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This one is an exclusive copy of Barnes & Noble. I have the first book of the Chestnut Spring series, which is Flawless. I think this one has 4 or 5 books. My first ever Greek mythology book, which is The Song of Achilles, which I'm very excited. I think Coracle was also another Greek mythology book. I'm very excited to read that as well. I was at Target. They had a little bit of a sale going on. A few of these books do have those like 20% off. So I have read A Court of Thorns and Roses, like that whole series before. And I really want to get to her first ever series that she already has completed and finished, which is Thorn of Glass series. So I've heard mixed emotions about this book because you can either start off with this one, which is the Assassin's Blades, or you start off with Thorn of Glass. It really just depends on how you want the story to kind of go. I am going to start off with this one first. And I have two Emily Henry books. I have Happy Place and I have People We Meet on Vacation. And I have Before We Were Innocent. I have the first one of 3 of the Abby Jimenez book, which is Part of Your World series. I believe that's what this one is called. I've heard nothing but great things on the second and third book of this interconnected series. I'm very excited to get to it. The last book that I have on my TBR is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which everyone who has read this has absolutely destroyed them, and it's also been one of their favorite books that they've ever read. Once I get there, I would be very stoked to read this and see what it's all about. There is my physical TBR list. A lot of these books, as I said, I don't really know the premises of them, but I kind of just go based off like whoever I follow on Instagram, on TikTok, or on YouTube. I kind of just pick up the book, and if I, you know, at the end when I'm done with it, if I liked it, I liked it. If I didn't, I didn't. I still have not DNF'd a book. I have always finished it because I'm like, you started reading it, why not just finish the book even if you didn't like it? I mean, if you guys have any of these books, have read any of them, if they're good, and yeah, maybe give me some more recommendations down in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!